Tuatahi ke mihi ke tātou katoa. Tātou whakakotahi nei te roto I tēnei o ngāpiri ngā ore. Tēnei mai te tuatahi te whakawhi whakawhi. Hopefully legends in the Symposium, no, Abu Dhabi, Wahaki. Ko te o te kō nui tēnei e mihi atu ana ki a koutou kapo. Tēnā koutou ki ora tātou. Good morning. I've been asked to share a few words and open this morning. But firstly, we bring the reports from our homelands in Aotearoa in New Zealand. We've come all this way to share our kōrero, our stories with you all today. We also want to open our kōrero, open our session this morning with some waiata, with a karakia and with a waiata, a prayer and a song, as a traditional way in opening important talks, wānanga, discussions that we're having with the Lord this morning. It's not even to also acknowledge the tangata whenua, the native peoples of this land on which we stand on. We honour them and thank you. And also bring all of our ancestors with us today as well, and acknowledge all of you here at this important program. We're going to have karakia, we'll pray to our river, to our ancestral river that we've brought with us today all the way from Wanganui, Te wǝጡ the only living and indivisible river in the world, acknowledged as recognised as a living and indivisible being. And we'll sing waiata and then I'll let the important kids get on with their presentation this morning. Kia ora tātou. Miruru ku tātou. Tuana, te kāhui maungai te pitoti ka maui te kiti a rā. Hatoaia te mātāpuna me ngā kōrero me ngā wakata. E re kauana ngā tikanga o utuna, I roa ai o ngā ngāru o te awa o Wanganui. Hai atu koutou I te puna wai, te puna ora, te puna aroha hanga e roa te whakaia te hirunga tūtuo te whakamau te tina. Tēnā haui e hui e. Ai, kia ora. The song that we just shared talks and it talks about the waves of the river crashing up against the banks, and the energy that creates those waves is the love, the aroha that we have for all of you gathered here today for this important kaupapa, for this important discussion that we're having, and we just want to share all of our love with you all. From us here in Aotearoa, we're right here today. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou. Hea whakangatira, tēnā koutou katoa.
E tautoko ana I ngā mihi Elijah ki a koutou, kua hui mai nei I tēnei rā tēnā koutou. Just standing in support of the greetings extended to you all on behalf of us by Elijah. Tēnā koutou, greetings to you all. To you, Elder Connie, thank you for opening us up today. And to all of those who have been involved in putting on this wonderful event, tēnei rā te mihi o te ngākau kia koutou, our heartfelt thanks and gratitude to you all. We're going to present some some discussions around some of the work that we've been doing with our youth on the Whanganui River. And I'm going to provide some of the opening statements and then I'm going to hand it over. But not only are we going to be talking about the activities, but we're going to be talking about some of the songs that our youth have been learning alongside those activities. And they will discuss the songs and their content. Two of the songs are songs that have been created within the last 100 years, and then two other songs are more modern songs that have been composed to help reinforce the learning that happens at our traditional knowledge exchange events. So a little bit about us. The youth group is called Te Morehu Whenua, and that name means the remnant lands. And it comes from an utterance of one of our ancestors, Taitoko Te Rangi Hiwinui. He was also known as Major Kemp. And when he had an exchange with the Minister of Māori Affairs in the late 1890s, what he did, he entrusted the remnants of our people and the remnants of our lands to the minister. Why did he do that? He did that because he wanted to remind the minister that they had obligations to our people under Te Tiriti o Waitangi, the Treaty of Waitangi. And what he said to Timi Kara at the time was, "E Timi, ko te morehu whenua, ko te morehu tangata ki a koe. Sir James, I entrust what I have left of my people and my lands into your care." And so our sub-tribe, Ngāti Ruaka, who come from the middle reaches of the Whanganui River but have connections up and down to all of our people and our lands, they thought that Te Morehu Whenua, the remnant lands, would be an appropriate name for this group of youth, of children, because they lead out on all environmental projects on behalf of our sub-tribe. The vision is to ignite the ancestral flame amongst and within our youth. So, like a lot of our communities back home, most of our communities live away from their ancestral lands, and this is a way of pulling our children and our youth back home. And the way that we've been able to do that is by handing the mantle of environmental work over to them to do all the work on, and it's been great. So as I said, we established this group. It is an environmentalist group of youth, and we have, when we first started, we thought that all we would be doing is teaching our kids how to go eeling. So eeling is an activity that we all enjoyed as children, and tuna or eels used to be the mainstay food of our people when they were all living along the river. But what we soon realised is that we couldn't just focus on one food source. We had to look at everything around the tuna, around the eels. And so we had to look at how was our river, how were our waterways, how were our other aquatic life. And so the kids are going to talk to you about the other things that they've studied and looked at and caught and monitored and done research on. We also had to look at the trees and the plants and the things that provide shade for all of our aquatic life, which therefore bring bugs and all the other things that our aquatic life need to survive on. And more recently, we've been getting into a bit of gardening, traditional gardening. So those are our three foci at the moment, the things within the water, the things that sustain the things that live in the water, and then the cultivation as well. The kids will talk about the things that they've been learning through our wānanga, which is our word for knowledge exchange events. But very briefly, they've been learning how to go eeling, as I've talked about already. They've also learned how to establish what we call pā ngaore, and you can see that structure within the river. It's how we catch smelts. And it seems to be something, a method that we use up and down the Wanganui River, but when my father, who comes from the east coast of the North Island, saw the way that we fish, he thought we were a little strange. It's quite different to how they fish over on the east coast. We've also, for some of our older boys and young men, learned how to create hinaki, which are our eel baskets, and they look very, very similar to the tall basket that we see over there, and even some of the materials, when I was having a look yesterday, they look just like our aerial kia roots, which is what we use to create those baskets. And whenever we get together in town, we take the kids out to ramapatiki, which means to look for flounder using torches. There's two freshwater species that we don't touch. It's not that we don't touch them, it's that we don't eat them anymore, because as a result of our monitoring work, we've realised that numbers are too low for us to be able to eat those until we sustain their populations and grow them. After that point, then we will reassess whether we eat the freshwater mussel and the freshwater crayfish. Native trees, so we've been eco-sourcing seeds from our lands, and we've created a small nursery at our traditional gathering space, our marae, and we've had a go at planting karaka and harakeke, and we'll be using those to plant along the waterways to provide the shade for our fish. Research has been a big part of our work, and so as part of that, we've had the kids not only interview our elders, but also look into the archive of our marae, of our traditional gathering space. In 2006 and 2007, we set out to interview 14 elders from our community. We ended up interviewing 64 elders, and of those 64, 60 of them agreed to have their interviews recorded and housed at our marae in our archive. The kids have done a bit of analysis work of those interviews and have paid real close attention to any of the discussions regarding food gathering and harvesting, and they'll talk a little bit about that work soon. We've also been visiting other repositories, whether they be regional or national museums and archives, and extracting from those places anything that has been recorded on food harvesting and gathering from our home. So you'll see a picture here, that's a marae, one of our traditional gathering places. Because our work that we've been doing with our children and youth has been marae based, we've had to teach them around the ways that you behave at the marae, which might be a little bit different to the way that you might live at home. And so also learning how to look after guests, how to welcome them, how to lead in singing and in prayers, and how to cook has been a big part of their journey. And it's an ongoing journey, you learn things all the time. And we didn't sort of envisage that we would have to do that work. We sort of thought that all the kids would come ready-made and have all that knowledge, but they don't. So we've had to take a bit of a step back and help them in these areas as well. And of course, sharing what we know with others is a big part of our work. We have a hapu aspirations framework called He Toi Waiata, and we regularly review that to see whether the work of our youth is contributing to our sub-tribal plan for the future. But also we've been offering what we learn to others, to learn from the work that we've been doing, learn from our mistakes as well. And we do that via symposia such as this, conferences and other events. So this is a snapshot of one of the parts of our hapu aspirations framework. All of these themes, outcomes and indicators relate to environmental well-being, and everything that you see in red are the revisions that were offered up by the children and the youth. Once they had gone through and reviewed it and thought about some of the work that they had been doing, they thought that it would be good to include these other indicators with, that sit alongside those that the sub-tribe already had. And so those include looking at, not only the river levels, but also how do we respect the natural path and flows of our waterways. Having better water quality, the ability to swim safely, learning how to monitor the water to see whether pollution and toxins are reducing. How do we measure whether someone's ancestral flame is lit and alive on the land? And also, how do we sort of share what we're learning with others around living by our traditional lunar calendar and its relevance to today? How do we nourish our families so that there is increased engagement from our families in food gathering and harvesting? And also, how do we discuss some of the really important issues, such as the impact of climate change? And more importantly, what are our solutions for those sorts of challenges? So all of those things were included, were accepted by the sub-tribe as forming part of our aspirations framework. So coming back to the kaupapa, to our topic for today, is that we're going to talk about some of the songs that the children and the youth learn when we're all together. Between 2022 and December and then June 2024, we had 7 songs that were written for the group, and today we're going to talk about 2 of them. 2 of the contemporary songs that reinforce their learning around food gathering and harvesting activities. But we're also going to talk about 2 other songs that are not modern songs, but songs that the children and youth draw inspiration from in terms of their learning. So I'm going to hand it over to Inglis, and he's going to talk about the first song. And 3 of the 4 children, they go to schools that only speak in our language. The instruction is only in te reo Māori, in the Māori language. So they'll be speaking in our language, and I'll be attempting to offer a translation service to you all. Kia ora.
Tēnā tātou, ko te waitoio rāhau, ko ngā tīroaka, me ngā tamarua ngā hapu.
Greetings everybody, this is waiata or English. He comes from Ngāti Ruata and Ngāti Tamarua, which are 2 sub-tribes from the Hāngai area.
I whakaako mā tamahei rā ko pipi ana rau I te wātanei ki mātou o te moru uenua I tō mātou wānanga tuatahi I te taurua mono tekau iwa.
At the first knowledge exchange event in 2019, the song that he's talking about was taught to the group by Tamarua.
Ko te kaupapa matua ko ngā ingoa o iti o ngā tuna ki tā wanganui.
The main topic of the song, the purpose is to reinforce some learning around our eels within the Māori River and what some of the specific eel names are in accordance with our Māori traditions.
Ko ēnei ingoa I ahu mai I ngā kōrero I puta I a wera Furman, he tohu ngā hi ika no Ngāti Tuera.
So the knowledge base for this song comes from narratives and discussions from Uncle Phil Furman, who was an expert fisherman from the Ngāti Tuera sub-tribe.
I waka ako ia ki te wera, ki te hi tuna I aia e tamariki ana. Te wera. Nā tōku koro eke, nā te matara ka ukura, I waka ako ia te wera ki te hi tuna I aia e tamariki ana.
So when Wera Furman was young, he was taught how to deal by Te Waitoa's great-great-great-grandfather, Te Matara Kamakura, who is pictured on the right.
Ki tā wera, e rima tikaima whitu ngā kātu tuna ki te awa o Wanganui.
Uncle Phil Furman remembers that Te Matara, the old man, could name 57 types of eels that lived in our Wanganui waters.
Ki tā te Pākehā, e rua ki ngā momo tuna.
However, the Europeans only acknowledged that there are two types of eels, short fin and long fin.
Ko tētahi o ngā kātu tuna kei te awa tupua ko te tuna toki.
One of the eels mentioned in the song is the tuna toki.
Ko tēnei te tuna I tino ki tea ana I ngā wai o Wanganui.
This type of eel is seen most commonly within our waterways of Wanganui.
He hāngai ana te ingoa nei ki te tikanga I tuna no o mate toki.
So the name of this particular eel comes from the way in which you can catch it, which is by using toki, which is our word for worm.
He rere ke ngā toki ki era ka kitea I te mara. He rere ke ngā toki ki era ka kitea I te mara.
They're very different to eels that you find in your garden. But we're going to play a little video at this point, which is just a show you on the process that we use in catching tuna toki using looms. He toke kānapanapa ara he toke kānapanapa ara he toke muramura taku e kōrero nei. So they are quite different to your standard words. They are loads, and we call them just toke, but other tribes call them toke kānapanapa or toke muramura.
Ko I te I toke he rite ki te mātatorutanga o te pene rākau, he rite e te I toke ki te hūhā tangata.
So there's lots of stories about the words. Sometimes I think it's a big pen or pencil, and others have been described as being as thick as a man's thigh.
Ki te waipuki te awa, ka puki puki ngā wai, ka paru paru hoki ngā wai.
When the waters, where the river is in the flood, the water within our river becomes quite silty and dirty.
Ka waka e a rawa mai ngā tuna toke, ko ēnei ngā tuna nunui rawa.
And during that time, what happens is that the tuna toke come up from the bottom of the river, and they sort of settle at the top of the river to breathe, because they're able to breathe because of the silted dirt, and they're our biggest eaters.
Ka tae te tangata te tuna toke, te hofu mā te rama, mā te mātia, mā te ngara rānei.
So you can catch tuna toke using different methods, which includes by lamp, by a gaff, and also by a pole, which is what you saw in the
Ko te wāpā ki te hofu tuna toke, ko ngā pōpauri.
The best time to catch tuna toke are on our darkest nights.
He wānui ngā waha o te tuna toke, nō reira kaua e rapu i te tuna nei, kei ngaua o ringa ringa.
So it's not advised, there's another way, there are other ways to catch eels, one is through feeling, through the sights of frequency streams, and it's not advised to use the feeling method because you'll get your hand shot. But enough.
Ka tira koia nei e te kōrero mo te tuna toke, ho te o ngā kātu tuna kei te awa wanganui.
This includes England's sharing today about the tuna toke and this week, the tamariki, the youth will get up and sing this waiata, which talks about the different 24 of the 57 types of eels within our waters.
Tēnā tātou katoa.
Te wānui arua
Tuna toke, tuna para, tuna riri, tuna koa, tuna kaingara, tuna koika, tuna kokopu.
Tangara tai whenua
Tuna eke, tuna rere, tuna moe moe, tuna arawaru, tuna pui, tuna
Watai mai
Tuna tākaka, tuna parakawai, tuna ngāuru, tuna hopua, tuna pako, tuna paranui
Oronga te ae
Tuna piki, tuna pū, ora keke, tuna pū, tōre, tuna tangaro, tuna tū, oro
Eke panuku, eke tangaroa, haumie huie, tai ki e.
Tēnā koutou kua tarangi pihi hau ko ngā tini ariki, ko ngā titakunga ngā hapu. Ko taku kaupapa kōrero ko te waiata a Kiko.
So, whakaatu I he hapu are Ngāti Iriariki e Ngāti Kapuna, and she's going to be speaking about this song called Kiko.
Nā te pō I whakaatu te waiata nei, kia hori e noka te mārei kura ki tāna tamāhine rānei. Kia moeruka e ngā tau wā te kau o tērā rautau.
So this song was revealed to one of two people, Hori Kura Te Marikura, who's pictured on the left, or his daughter, Moeruka, in the 1940s.
Ko te ngako o tēnei waiata ko ngā manu Māori e wakarite tūranga ana I te waunui a tāne.
So this song speaks about sort of our bird species, our native bird species, and how they find their home and role within the forest. I'll just add here that there are very few, if any, native birds that we are able to traditionally harvest due to legislation. Are we rushing? Yeah, right. But it's fine. Okay, so real family. There are instances within Māori communities where it's necessary to bridge legislation and to provide birds for specific events.
I hanga ana ngā manu mea rata kātu āhuatanga ki taua te tangata e wakari te tūranga ana I te ao nei.
So what Ata has just shared is that we can learn a lot from the ways that birds go about their daily business in the forest, the way they can engage with one another, and actually we can go a step further and actually compare some of the characteristics to the way that people are.
Ka rongo I ngā kōrero mo te titi waitori me tana manawa titi. He manu ka pīrere atu ki te kōpakararo.
So the first bird that's mentioned in this song is the titi. We call it the titi waitori. And there is a saying, Manawa titi, which talks about being focused and enduring and perseverance in all that you do. And this particular bird migrates to the Arctic Circle and also comes home.
Ko tēnei te tangi a te tīwai waka.
So, the tīwai waka, so the birds, they kiss and then learn the calls of some of the birds. And I think Manaki is mastered the filter.
He manu kōrero rero, he manu hanga pai I te tautaro o te ngāhire.
This bird will chirp all day long. It talks and talks and talks. It plays with us, it chitters and chitters, it flies in and around, and it is a lot of fun.
Ko tēnei te tangi a te kōkako.
Sorry, next time. The whakaatu, and I think Ata knows it's called.
Ka katakata ka taunui te kōkako he waka tūpatotanga tēnei kia taua me noho ngū, me noho kaiponu te tangata.
So the whakaatu lasts and spawns out the birds in the forest, and so it's a bit of a warning to us to, you don't always have to talk, you can sit quietly and listen and be humble.
Engari ko te tūi he kaha nōna ki te tui manu ā ka ake a taua ki te tui tangata.
So this is the tui bird, as its name suggests in our language, it is a bird that can weave other birds together and we should be able to do the same as humans.
Ko te manuhia me tōna remu he tohu rangatira puritia kia mau.
So another bird mentioned in the song is the waiata. This bird is no longer physically with us in Aotearoa anymore, and its tail feathers are used within headdresses and are a symbol of authority and power.
Ko tēnei te tangi a te kawekawea.
Okay, who's got the kawekawea? Sounds like this.
Ka tohu mai te kawekawea me te pipi waraurua kua mahana haere te whenua. Te wā tika ki te waka tō kumara.
So in the long tail or the short tail of the bird, we know that the land is warming up and it's a good time to plant the sweet potato, the kumara.
Ko manu tāwhi o rangi, he manu wairua ka noho I uta I hauhunga tahi.
The final bird mentioned in the song is Maipapawani. It's a spiritual bird that resides at a place called Hauhunga, which is a cluster of volcanoes at Kahimana, within the centre of the North Island.
E ai kia matua Che Wilson, ko tōna mana heri te ki tō te mana o te wairua tapu.
According to Jay Wilson, a knowledge holder from our waiata tribal collective, money tapuarangi is the same power and similar to that of the Holy Spirit.
Ka tono atu kia ia kia wakahihiko i te kaupapa i te tangata.
It is not unusual for us to call upon money tapuarangi to help us, to inspire us, and to enlighten us, whether it be people or particular initiative.
E te huihuinga e te tuituinga tēnā tātou katoa.
So, to all of our birds who are gathered here today, greetings to you all who now share the song.
Kiko!
Kiko, kiko, tiroia kei mea te tanga o te titi waitohi pare pare mai rā ko e te tiwa waka i te pai pai o te taitara e nono sitaka te tai te mauri.
Ka taina!
Tēnā koutou, ko te manako pia hau, ko Ngāti Ngiariki, ko Ngāti Takenga, ngā hapu.
This is Tony, brother to Tangata, Tony, and he comes from the same subtribal groupings, Ngāti Ariki and Ngāti Takenga.
I'm going to speak about the song Tēnei Au. This song was composed by Rawiri Tiniro and Manaaki Hog on the 1st of March 2024 and was first performed at Climate Forum Wanganui later that month. The song speaks about some of the aquatic life and native trees we have learned about through our wānanga. Some of the freshwater tonga species we have learned about include eels, whitebait, freshwater crayfish, freshwater mussels, and smouts. We have been learning about how our ancestors cared for and harvested these, but we have also learned how they can help us and how we must respect and protect them. Tuna or eels are a kai source, and kākehi or freshwater mussels are a water filter and help to clean our river. This is one of the reasons why our people have chosen not to eat kākehi, as they have a very important job. We have a population of kākehi within our hapurohe, and we regularly monitor them. We have gathered a lot of information and put it on a story map. Listen to Inglis's great-grandmother talk about smouts.
So this story was created for one of our research projects, which is looking at how we restore waiata island, which is a river island within the Longmere River, and then just passing down to a section where the kids listen and analyse to some of those interviews that I talked about from 2006 to 2007. This is Inglis's great-grandmother, and this recording is a real treasure because she had passed from this world before Inglis was born, so we got to hear the voice of his
great-grandmother. Sisters take us to the grandmother island, and sometimes somebody's in the park now, and the plane before toilets, Oh, we should take this little nugget and take them into that catch it, and you put them on the fence to dry. Used to be lots and lots. You start to come through like 80 if you start.
This waiata also talks about native plants and trees that grow on our lands around Ranana. We have collected seeds from various places, including Ranana, such as Te Paurunga Marae, the Tractor Kawika, and the Ngārako Wakarara land block. We have also gathered karaka seeds from Pūtiki Waranui and Mokunui. We plant the seeds in recycled containers at our nursery at Ranana Marae. When the plants become big enough, we will plant them along our waterways at Ranana. The plants provide shade for our fish and a place for the kai to thrive. Tēnā tātou katoa.
Tēnā koutou, ko manaaki ao ka au, ko ngā te sapui, ko ngā te ine ao ka pua ngāpū. Ka kōrero au mo te waiata, ko te rua mātatore.
We need to fire the translator. This is Manaki Hall. He comes from Ngāti Tapui e Ngāti Te Aokatua, and he is going to talk about the song Te Rua Mātatore.
Nā rāwiri tinirau te waiata nei tito mo te whakaatu peratanga o te pātaka a te rua mātatoru I te kaumarima o ngā rao ūrai I tērā tau.
So on the 15th of July 2024, we opened a storehouse, a food storehouse.
Ko te pātaka nei, he ware pūranga kai.
So Te Rua Mātatore, which is the name of the storehouse, is dedicated to storing food.
Ko te waiata nei e tōu mai ana I ngā mahinga kai o tō mātou a pū o ngā tiruaka I te wā I eke atu ngā mātua tūpuna ki te noo I te pūwaa o te awa o Wanganui I te wā o te raumati.
This song speaks about the food gathering activities that were performed by our ancestors of Ngāti Roka when they used to reside along the coastline during the summer months.
Ko te witizua tai ka kōrero mo te paupau tanga o ngā ngaru ki runga i ngā koatu me ngā one o ruaka, he wā i koi pipi i ngā rā o tira me tamatea āio.
So the first verse speaks about the way that the waves hit the sands and stones along a beach called whakaatu, which is in English called South Beach, and of a particular food gathering activity which involves gathering what we call pipi during tina and tamatea āio.
Ia pēnei mea te pipi.
What is this thing called pipi?
Ko te pipi he kātū kai moana, he āuari te ki te kākai.
So pipi is a type of shellfish, seafood, and it looks a lot like our freshwater mussels.
Ko te pipi, he anga mā kei wao, he kai kei roto.
So with this particular shellfish, it's white on the outside, and all the food is on the inside.
Ka puta mai o rātou ārero, ka wetero, ka pūkana, black.
So they have tongues that protrude out, and sometimes we lift them out of the sea, the tongues is still hanging out of the shells.
Ko tira, ko tamatea āio, he mato te marama.
Tira and tamatea āio are moon phases.
Ko ēnei ngā rangi pai ki te koi pipi.
These are the best days together with shellfish, the pipi.
Ko ruaka, he taku tai moana, e tata ana ki te taunga wakarererangi.
So the beach where we gather these is called whakaatu, and it's close to the Waiata International Airport.
Ia te rā tapu waka mutunga o te marama, ka ko I para mātou I ngā one o tēnei wā I tūpuna.
Usually on the last Sunday of the month, children come together and collect rubbish along the coastline.
Ka kōrero ki au mo te witi toru o tēnei waiata.
And Natu is also going to talk about the third verse of the song.
Kei tēnei witi ngā kōrero mo te tino kai o te awa. Arā, o te tuna.
This verse speaks about one of the delicacies of the river, which is the third down, which is the eel.
Kua ako mātou mo te tuna eke me tō rātou okinga ki te maru o tonga.
Another time we gather these particular eels is during the autumn migration, when the eels swim back to Te Maru o Tonga, which is in the Pacific Islands.
Aakoa ka mate atu ngā tuna mātua ki reira, ka oki mai o rātou ua I te ia o ngā tai.
Although the eels die at Te Maru o Tonga, they rest in eggs and they float back to Aotearoa.
Ka uri ngā ua e torongu, a ka oki mai e tuna pū atata.
On the journey up to Aotearoa, where eggs change into torongu, larvae, and when they arrive in Aotearoa, they are what we call glass eels, tuna puata.
Ka tupu rātou ki te pūwaa, a ka waka uri.
At the moment they grow enough, they grow a bit bigger, quite a bit bigger, and they're whakaatu.
Ka rere ki uta e tuna ririki, a ka riaria kina.
So they swim upriver in small ends, and that's where they will continue to overgrow.
Me e mea e tea ki tai au te mai, me mātou te tangata ki te tau oranga o te tinio maru, o tēnā o ngā ekenga atua.
If we are to consider ourselves environmentalists, we need to understand the life cycle and living conditions of the descendants of Maru, the god of freshwater, and of all of our relatives within the environment and nature.
Tēnā tātou katoa.
Greetings to you all.
Akina ngā ngaru,
Akina ngā ngaru, uka kinga o ne rā, aka tukui arua ka te wā, i kai, piki te kainga hoi kai, asura kauka, arawara kangi a tora mamanu ka whaka tomati a reo ia hui, te pātiki e. Keria te toke tukuna te hina tikinga roto moana, ngā titu manga i te ke kauru, mai a te tuna e ke koe o te iwi e.
Tapai a te waranu.
Tapai a te waranu i taua i a mai te muka watu a te kaka. Hōru tūtuana, aina te karo i moi titi e rere ana i te awa e.
Tapai a te waranu.
Tapai a te waranu i taua i a mai te muka watu a te kaka. Hōru tūtuana, aina te karo i moi titi e rere ana i te awa e.
Whakanipatia!
Whakanipatia te wērua tapiria ki te angakuku me te rāpau. Ai tō ai te waka i te māsarawa e me ranga i kai te rai mati e. Whakatia, aue! Whakatia te pātakane ki te matatoritanga o ngā kai e. Aue! Ko te rua matatori e, tūnei e. Heia!
So that brings our presentation to an end. There's quite a few different things that we want to go on and do into the future. Some of the ones in the ticks have sort of been achieved, but other things we want to do is to continue developing our understanding and application of our sub-tribal lunar calendar and the ways that our ancestors would have behaved and the things that they did during the 30-day cycle of our moon. Indigenizing our lands through removing exotics and replacing those with native trees, but we have to do that in a measured and considered way. The last thing we want is for our sacred island to go floating down the river because we didn't leave enough root structures to keep it in place. Building a pā-aurua, those are our traditional eel weirs that we used to build during the summer so that they were operational during the autumn migration of our eels out to sea, but also relearning and reconfiguring our understandings of weaving our eel baskets and other things that we need to have when we go out fishing and eeling. Writing our own history of our island. There's lots of people that want to write about us and our history, but we think we can do that ourselves. Thank you, everybody, for the offer. And then, And even though we have our new food storehouse down at Putiki, we also want to build one of those back home because the one that we had can no longer be used. But yeah, this is just a snapshot of the kids that are back home. They're actually engaged in a working bee at our marae at the moment as we prepare for a big event in a couple of weeks. And they would have loved to have travelled, but their day will come. But on behalf of them all back home and on behalf of all of us who are here, thank you for listening and we wish you a great rest of your day. Kia ora koutou. Enough.